Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon. Um, right now, we're going to be going over the graphs of trig functions. So we're going to do some notes, some examples, and then you guys are going to get to practice numbers 57 to 72. The notes first. Okay. The first thing you need to know is the general function of what a trig function looks like. So I'm going to say it's going to be y equals a sine of bx plus c plus d. It could be sine, it could be cosine. That's just a generic formula, all right? A is the amplitude, which is basically half of the height. And when we did the lesson the first time, I gave you a formula. There's actually different little formulas you can do to figure out the amplitude. Maybe the simplest one that you could do is to take the maximum value, subtract the midline. That might be the simplest one. Then something else that's pretty easy is going to be, oh, it's not going to be C. It's D. That's the midline. In almost every single problem, it's super easy to find the midline. It's just the middle line, the line that goes through the middle of the graph. But you know what? Let's just keep it simple. That's it. Y equals some number, which goes through the middle of the line of the graph. And then P is the period. And that's going to be 2 pi over B. That's usually the piece that we confuse the most, because I see students look at this number right here and they're like, oh, that's the period. It's like, no, that's not the period. That gets used to find the period. That's basically it as far as the notes. Let's go ahead and do two examples real quick. Okay. Example. We're going to graph. Oh, no, there's going to be some more notes that I got to give you right now. Y equals, let's say, 3 cosine of something that's not too crazy. Let's just say pi over 2. Pi over 2x minus 1. Okay. I'll come back to this in a bit. I did forget something. C is the phase shift. Phase shift. But luckily, we don't even have to worry about that. So you're not going to really get problems with a phase shift. So don't really worry about it. The other thing I should have given you is what the graph of sine looks like. The graph of sine starts in the middle. And we're going to go 4 intervals out. 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes middle, high, middle, low, middle. And that completes one cycle. That would be the period. Middle, high, middle, low, middle. That's what sine looks like. So you need to recognize your graphs. Negative sign is basically the same thing. It starts in the middle. So if you're looking at the graph and it starts on the midline, automatically that's a sine graph. The behavior is a little different though. Instead of going to the high point, we go to the low point. Middle, low, middle, high, middle. That's what negative sign looks like. Cosine. Cosine does not start at the midline. A positive cosine graph starts with the highest point. High, middle, low, middle, high. And the cycle repeats after that. High, middle, low, middle, high. So a negative cosine. Hopefully you guys have already guessed it. a negative cosine is the flipped version of this. It's basically reflected over the x-axis. It starts in the lowest point. Low, middle, high, middle, low. And it's nice and smooth like this. Low, middle, high, middle, low. Oh, you can't even see that because of my picture. Huh? There it is. All right. So have your notes handy. They're gonna be pretty useful when you do your problems. Okay, back to the example. So we're supposed to graph this function. And let me go ahead and get my key information first. The amplitude. The amplitude is the absolute value of 3, which is 3. The midline, I'm going to put a colon right here. The midline is going to be y equals -1. That's the number in the back. The period is 2 pi over b. You're going to have to calculate this one yourselves, right? So the period equals 2 pi divided by pi over 2. Divided by a fraction isn't as scary as it might seem. We just talked about it yesterday, right? We said if you're dividing by a fraction, you got to do your keep, change, flip. In math terms, just multiply by the reciprocal. So the period becomes 4 pi over pi, which simplifies to 4. These are the 3 things that I got to use. So here's my graph. You're going to go ahead and put 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where the period comes in. The period goes on the 4th line every single time, no matter what it is. All right, 4. The rest of the lines, in this case, it's going to be pretty easy to know what they are. Like it's 1, 2, 3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But if it's kind of tricky, you can always take the period and divide it by 2. That's this guy. And I think as long as you have these 2 values, you'll be good. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and throw the midline. The midline is -1. You can see it there, you can see it here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little dashed line right here at -1. Y equals -1. That's going to be the center of your graph. So make sure you structure it. We have a cosine graph. So the first point, it's going to start at the highest point. And the amplitude is 3. So just count 3 units up. 1, 2, 3. So that's where you start. You start with the high point. Let's remember the pattern, eh? Cosine goes high, middle, low, middle, high. So my next point has to be on the midline. That's the middle. To get my low point, just count 3 units down because that's the amplitude. 1, 2, 3. -2, -3, -4. So my third point is low. My next point is middle. And my last point is high. So high, middle, low, middle, high. And just curve it. Curve it, curve it, curve it, curve it. That's your graph for cosine. So once again, my midline was -1, and I put a dashed line right here. My amplitude was 3, so I have to make sure that I count 3 units up from the midline. But I also have to count 3 units down. That's going to show me my high points and my low points. And this number comes from the period. by doing 2 pi over b. And that's how you can graph trig functions. Okay. Let me go to maybe question number 57, and I'll do that with you guys. 57. Oh, write the equation of a trigonometric function. Okay, the same thing, but we got to go backwards. All right, you have to go backwards. The easiest thing you guys can find is probably be the midline. Look at that. Here's my midline. If you look on the y-axis, I think that's going to be enough for you guys to figure out if this is a cosine or a sine graph. Here's my first point. Starts in the middle. Middle, high, middle, low, middle. So that right there, that's a sine graph. A positive sine graph nonetheless. Look at your notes to figure it out, right? Positive sign. So I'm going to do this. Y equals a sine of bx plus c. Plus d. Don't even write the c. And when you guys do the work, I want to see the equation, right? Like lay it out with letters, no numbers. For my first step, I was already able to figure out my midline. Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta go answer a phone call. He's supposed to be here, but he didn't show up. He's absent. Yeah. All right, so where did we leave off? I found my midline, which was -3. I can also easily find the amplitude just by knowing how to count. 1, 2. Right? Look at that. 1, 2. 2 units up. And it should be the same thing for the low point. 1, 2. So my amplitude is 2. 2 sine of bx minus 3. The tricky part, finding the period. Or finding b. Well, I already kind of labeled out my sequencing, right? My middle, high, middle, low, middle. Hopefully that's enough for you to know that from here to here, that right there is my period. So the period equals 6 pi. I went from 0 to 6 pi. So that means the period is 6 pi. When we did the notes in this unit like a month and a half ago, I told you that if you want to find the period, you can take the maximum and subtract the maximum. For example, this point minus this point, and that would get you the period. That is true. You could have also done the minimum minus the minimum. So take any random minimum and subtract the previous minimum. That is also the period. And the third thing you could have done is take the middle and subtract the middle. That one gets a little tricky because there's a lot of middles. But I'm taking this point right here, and I'm subtracting this point because those are technically corresponding points. It gets tricky because I have to skip a middle point. But either of those three options will give me the period. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to hit undo. And that's technically what I did. I used this one. I'm doing 6 pi minus 0. So the period is 6 pi. Now, the period does not go there. You have to find B yourself. Remember, the formula is P equals 2 pi over B. And I know the period. 6 pi equals 2 pi over B. I have to work it out. There's no other way. Okay. I can multiply both sides by B. And then I can divide by 6 pi. That's going to give me 2 over 6. And if I reduce it, that's 1/3. So my final formula is going to be 2 sine of 1 over 3x minus 3. Don't forget the x, because without the x, it's not an equation. It's going to be just a value. Finding B is usually the thing that takes the hardest, the most effort. So if I recap my whole problem, I got the midline first. And all I did was put it in my equation. Then I found the amplitude just by counting from the midline to the highest point. I just go 1, 2. And that gave me the amplitude. And then of course to find B, that takes work because I got to find the period. I got to plug it into the formula and I got to solve for B. But that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you can get the equation of a graph. All right. Go ahead and get to work. Use your notes. Numbers 57 through 72. Good luck.